Hi guys and welcome to another video on this channel. Today we go for round 15 of season 1 of the My Team Career mode, and we're going around Interlagos in Brazil. It's the penultimate round of the season and it could be the championship decider. Lewis Hamilton is 20 points ahead of Charles Leclerc and 31 points ahead of Max Verstappen. And in the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes is 57 points ahead of Ferrari, so Mercedes could get a double world championship in this race. And as you can see in the weather forecast, the sprint will have a little bit of rain at the end, but the rest of the weekend will stay dry. And as we go into qualifying, it's the last lap of Q1, and again the previous lap put us in P22. We need to be way quicker on our first qualifying laps because it's just not good enough to be in P22 at the end of every session and having to improve massively to even get through to Q2. I know we don't have a really good car, but it's just P22 in every session in the first laps is just too bad. And as we go up to the line, we gained over a second to the previous lap, and we're in P8. And because I completely missed the first corner in the last lap, I decided to go again, and I already gained 4/10 on the last lap. So into turn 4 we get the apex really good, go right to the track limits at the exit, and it was a really good corner, but we still lost some time. And then through turn 5 and 6 the McLaren impeded us, and again it's an AI impeding our qualifying lap. It's just way too often that this shit happens. I think it was Lando Norris, but it's way too often. Codemasters should change something on the behavior of the AI, because that's just, it's so annoying having ruined every qualifying lap. But in the end we go through in P9 and onto the last lap of Q2 we go, and we are last after the first lap, and again we have to improve massively to even get through to the next part of qualifying. And we need to be way quicker on our first laps, because like I said, it's not good having to improve on the last lap in every session. And if you go slightly wide somewhere or maybe get a little bit of oversteer, it's just qualifying over. So yeah, we actually gained almost 4/10, but then on the entry of turn, I don't actually know which turn it is, but yeah, we lost some time and we got a little bit of oversteer out of the last corner, and we're still in P16 and we need to gain 6/10 to get to Bottas, who is in P12, and we're gonna need way more than that to get through to Q3. Fortunately, on this lap we won't be impeded by anyone because the other cars came out of the pits just after we passed the pit line exit. But then we invalidated the lap, so we're probably gonna start the sprint from P16 unless there are any grid penalties, but I think for the sprint there never are penalties. I think they apply only to the race. So yeah, we're gonna start in P16.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Verstappen, Russell, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Norris, Gasly, Ocon, Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Bottas, Magnussen, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Joe, De Vries, Sargent, and Jack Doohan. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
So onto the grid we go in P16, and I actually looked at the setup again because I think I didn't really feel comfortable during the qualifying, but in the end I didn't change anything. And as you can see, the rain probably won't arrive in time before the end of the race, so we should be safe from that. But if it would arrive right at the end, it would maybe give us some chaos, which would be very interesting and could maybe give us some points. But at the start we actually completely failed the parking. We were 2.1 meters away. So yeah, not a good start before the start even. And then we get a pretty good getaway. I actually wanted to go down the inside of the Alfa Romeo, but he went to the inside himself, so we couldn't quite do that. And then through the center as we got squeezed out by the Williams a little bit, and then lost the position to the Haas. And then into turn 4, Stroll tried to overtake us, but we got the braking zone better, but on the exit Stroll actually was way faster and flew past us on the next straight. So we're in P17 now. We lost a position at the start, which is not great. But then we dive down the inside of Stroll. But we were way too late and he cut us off. And we actually got quite a big gap to the cars ahead now, as Hulkenberg overtakes us as well. So we're going rather backwards than forwards in this race. But with a pretty late brake maneuver, we stayed ahead of Hulkenberg. But then into turn 4, he goes past us and we brake too late. He brakes way earlier than I expected him to brake, and we lost our front wing. So now we're gonna have to pit because the understeer and the loss of downforce is just way too big. So now we're 22 seconds behind everyone, and on the exit of turn 4 I went a little bit wide and lost the car on the curbs. So
Lewis Hamilton.
we're gonna start the race tomorrow from P22, and Hamilton won the sprint race, so he extended his championship lead even more. So now he will have a little bit easier to claim the championship.
1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. We're racing today then at Interlagos, a historic 2.7-mile circuit and one of the few anti-clockwise tracks on the calendar. 15 corners in total, 9 to the left and 6 to the right, with a technical middle section opening up to a flat-out sector 3. That gives us our best passing opportunity down into turn 1. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Russell, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Gasly, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Bottas, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Verstappen, Joe, Sargent, Norris, De Vries, Doohan, Stroll, Ocon, and the owner-driver rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event.
And they can do it for sure, as long as they don't dwell too much on the position. At the end of the day, there's only one way to go racing, and that's to give it everything you've got. Either your best is good enough to stay in the hunt, or it's not. There's no point giving any less than 100%.
So we're going to the grid for the race, and we're gonna do a 2-stop from 2 sets of softs to 1 set of mediums, but we gonna stretch the soft tire stints a little bit more than the strategy suggested, because it's just a little bit faster in the end. So yeah, we're gonna do around 40 laps on the softs and then 30 laps on the mediums. And maybe we can get some good points. And actually, I think because I crashed in the sprint race, I decided to take some new engines as well. So I have some more engine power to get through the field a little bit quicker, and hopefully it will help to do that. And then at the start of the race, we get a really good getaway. We overtake Stroll and Ocon before the first corner, and then we dive down the inside of our teammate and Norris. So we are 3 wide through the Senna S, and we gained 4 positions on the start, so way better start than for the sprint race. And now we're gonna try to make a move on Joe, but we were a little bit too far back, and I think I actually just missed my braking point, and I wasn't really trying to make a move. But Joe is on the hard tire, so we should be able to make a move sometime, and we actually do it way earlier than expected, but he could keep it in front. But then on the second time we go down the inside, and we actually spin the car and get a little bit of front wing damage because we hit Joe and someone, I think it was our teammate, hit us from the side. So now we have a little bit of floor damage and a little bit of front wing damage, but we're not gonna pit because it's okay to drive around the front wing damage, and about the floor damage we couldn't do anything even if we wanted to. So now we have a purple third sector and we are close to Stroll and Joe, and we get the DRS on both of them, but our teammate gets DRS as well and tries to go down our inside into turn 4. We leave him a little bit of space into the corner, but we can keep it in front of him. And then onto the next lap, Joe and Stroll are going side by side, and we gonna make a dive on both of them and go up into P16 after just 3 laps of racing. But from now on it's gonna get harder and harder to overtake people because the cars at the front are just gonna be quicker and quicker. And on lap 6 we make a move on De Vries down the inside of turn 4. And then De Vries is gonna try to get back at us, and we actually lock up a little bit and give him the opportunity to stick his nose down the inside, and then we get a bad exit out of turn 3 and actually go wide through turn 4 again. So now we lose positions to De Vries and Stroll, and right after that the safety car is out, so we can't even try to take the positions back for now. But after the safety car period we will definitely try to overtake them again. And actually we get a strategy call to box this lap and go onto hards instead of going to the second set of softs. And pitting under a safety car is always a good idea, so we're gonna pit this lap and put on the hard tires. And we actually lost 1.4 seconds to Stroll and De Vries, but they don't pit this lap, so otherwise we could have maybe jumped them in the pits if we didn't have that lap that gap. And we actually almost spun it into the pit lane, and our teammate followed us in, so we have to double stack, which will not help him. But now we're out of the pits again in P20, but with the new set of hard tires, and Joe is right behind us, and Joe and Duan actually pitted for new softs. I don't really know why, because softs will never make it so far that you can go onto the mediums to finish the race, but if they want to do that, why not? And then into turn 4, I was a little bit afraid that Duan would have tried to make a move, but fortunately he didn't. But we lost a little bit of time to the cars ahead, and then we spin the car and we actually cut the corner massively, but because we lost positions we didn't get a penalty for that. and then we try to dive down the inside of Science, and then in the fast left-hander we go around the outside, and through the last corner we go around the outside again, and we can keep it in front of him. So yeah, we lost I think 2 positions because of the spin. Yeah, I was just trying to make a move on Stroll, but broke a little bit too hard. And that locked up the rear tires and made me spin. And then into turn 4, Science goes round the outside of us. And I actually fight him because why not? I mean, he's in a much quicker car, but I don't really think there are points for us today. And then into lap 20 we make a pretty late lunge on Joe, and we actually get ahead and get the DRS from Duan ahead, so we stay ahead. And now we're gonna chase after Duan and Stroll and the other cars in that DRS train ahead. And we actually make a move on Duan in turn 7, I think it is. But we can't keep it around the outside of the next corner, so we have to try to make a move again, and this time we make it stick. And actually Duan lost the place to Sainz as well because we pushed him a little bit wide. And then at the start of the next lap we get the DRS on Stroll, but we are pretty far back, but they break so early the air, and we actually can make a move on Stroll because he just breaks so early. The whole DRS train breaks so early for turn 4, and then we make a move on the Freeze as well because they're just going so slow into the corners. I don't actually know why they are so slow into the corners, but it helps us. And actually on lap 23, after some people pitted, we are in P10 now, so maybe there actually are points to get for us, as we make a move on Piastri as well. And now we're in P9, and we're gonna chase after Magnussen and Norris, as Checo has, I think it was just an engine failure, and he's out of the race, so that gives us 1 more position. And then we get onto the grass before the last corner, and we spin and actually cut the corner, and we lose positions and lose time, but we get a 3-second penalty anyways for corner cutting. It was just like the first spin, but I think because no one was in front of us, the game just decided to give us a penalty. I think if someone was in front of us, the game would have just told me to give the position back, which would have happened automatically because we just lost time because of that spin. So yeah, the penalty was, I think it was not really fair, but it's okay. And then we make a move on Stroll, who overtook us because of the spin. And next up is Piastri on the end of lap 27. I wanted to go down the inside, but he closed that gap, and then I went around the outside, which turned into the inside for turn 2. And we're in P8 now. And I think that's as high as we're gonna get. because in front Norris got a 9-second gap on us. So yeah, and we had a screen freeze again, and because of that we lost positions to Stroll and almost Sainz as well. So yeah, those screen freezes are so annoying. I don't know why they keep happening, but they do. And then Russell overtook us after he pitted, and he actually pulled a gap of 13 seconds. And then on lap 41 into turn 1 we locked up, and we had to let both Haas and the McLaren of Lando Norris through. So we lost 3 positions because of one lockup. It's unfortunate, but our own fault. So, and then at the end of lap 41 we went into the pits to get new medium tires, and I went into the pit lane too fast because the sign wasn't there anymore and I didn't see the pit entry line. So yeah, another 5 seconds penalty. Just because there wasn't the pit side, the 80 kilometers per hour sign. I didn't know where the pit lane began, so yeah, it's an unfortunate penalty again. And now we're in last place, but we're looking to overtake De Vries at the start of lap 49 into turn 1. We go down the inside, and actually I think we made a little bit of contact, and there you have it from De Vries' perspective. We did make contact there, but then we kind of swooped back over the track and make contact with De Vries' front wing, but no damage for either of us. And then on to lap 52 we go down the inside of Tsunoda in turn 1, and ahead of us is a massive DRS train, and we need to get some positions. I think the DRS train goes to, I think, P10. So if we can overtake all of them, I think that should be points for us. And we definitely need points because the Haas's are in the points and they are both in the points, and if we don't get points as well, we definitely will end up in P11 in the Constructors' Championship, which will be very hard to change in the last round around Abu Dhabi. So we overtook Joe and I think Gasly on this lap. So we're in P17 now, and our teammate goes into the pits. That makes us P16. We make a move on Bottas, which makes us P14. And actually Hulkenberg went into the pits and he comes out behind us. So now we're in P13. And Piastri and Sargent ahead of us. So the DRS train ends at P11. So one position behind the points, but I think Albon went into the pits as well, so now we could get up to P10. As Stroll comes out of the pits, just ahead of Sargent, and he actually slows him up a little bit through turn 4, and now we can maybe go for a move through the high speed right-hander turn 5, and I think we could have gone for a move into turn 6, but I decided not to go for a risky move like that, because there are points available, and if we lose them by a stupid move, that would be really stupid. So I decided to play it patient and cautious. And now we're gonna have DRS on Sergeant, and Sergeant won't have any DRS from the cars in front, so it will be an easy move. But Sergeant, I think he wanted to go into the pits, and because of the contact, I went cutting the corner and actually got another 3-second time penalty, as we now made the move on Piastri and Stroll, and now we're in P9 on the road, but we have to get rid of this 11-second penalty, because otherwise we never gonna finish in the points, as we have, I think, 4 cars behind of us inside those 11 seconds. And then onto lap 60, we lock up into the last corner. Hulkenberg overtakes us. We actually pulled a 2-second gap to the cars behind, but we would need 8 more seconds to stay in the points, or 9 more seconds even, which won't happen probably in around 10 laps. And now Hulkenberg overtakes us. It was a similar situation where we got front wing damage in the sprint, but this time I braked a little bit earlier because I didn't want front wing damage again. But because of the fight, we lost 2 seconds to Albon, and now he's in our DRS. But I hope we can stay ahead of him and defend, at least on the road, our P10. And maybe we can build a gap to Bottas. That's probably it won't be 11 seconds. But on the mini-map there you can see Hamilton, I think it was Hamilton, it should be Hamilton, lapped almost everyone behind us. So there's only Albon, Bottas and some Alpine left. So if maybe Hamilton could lap Bottas and the Alpine is I think Gasly, if Hamilton could lap both of those and not lap us, we would get points, because we would have 1 lap more. Again, no, we wouldn't have points, but we would stay in P11 because we would have 1 lap more than Gasly and Bottas, and I think the 11-second time penalty wouldn't get into play. But if we stay on the same lap as both of them, the 11-second time penalty will make us lose some positions. And then on to lap 70 we get a big screen freeze, and we actually lose our front wing completely. So now we won't be able to stay ahead of Hamilton, and he just passes us through the center as we go wide again and get another warning for corner cutting. And we actually put Hamilton on the grass a little bit and try to defend from him, but there's no chance that we can stay ahead. And I think now with the 11-second time penalty we go to, I think, P5 14 or 17 or something like that. But we definitely will lose some positions. And with the broken front wing, we will lose even more time to the cars behind. So we will probably lose even more positions. But so far we stayed ahead of Bottas and Gasly. So maybe we can at least on the road finish in P11. And I think because of the blue flags they let, I think, the P2 through, and I didn't, so I stayed P11 on the road. And in the end I actually stayed P11 in the result as well. I don't know why the penalty wasn't added to my time, but we didn't lose the positions to the cars behind. And Lewis Hamilton, after he won the Brazilian GP, he is now world champion, and Mercedes is Constructors World Champion as well. So double championship for Mercedes in Brazil.
What a spectacular season they've had. Congratulations to the whole team. Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
So in the end, Haas got 6 points, and that means we are last in the Constructors Championship. There you can see it. So we would need at least 13 points to meet our sponsors' goal in the next race, and that's probably not gonna happen. I don't even know if we can get ahead of Haas to get at least P10 in the constructors. I hope so, but it will be really hard, as we would need to get points around Abu Dhabi. But yeah, we will see in the next race. So see you guys next time. Goodbye.